I say this to you as a fellow Christian. Representative Noble, I know you're a devout Christian, and so am I. This bill, to me, is not only unconstitutional, it's not only un-American, I think it is also deeply un-Christian.
On this episode of Code Blue in America, the breaking news segment, Texas firebrand James Talarico emerges as Democrats' best shot at rebirth. Today we're talking about a rising star who might just be the Democrats' political fountain of youth. His name? James Talarico, a Texas state representative, a former middle school teacher, and let's be honest, a man who looks like he grades your essays by day and torches GOP hypocrisy by night. If the Democratic Party is trying to offload their old political cargo, you know, the same talking heads who've been running on expired ideas since MySpace was a thing, Talarico might be the guy you want to ship in on priority mail. No offense to the grandpas of the party, but sometimes the hard drive just needs a clean reboot, not another update patch. He's no stranger to going viral, especially for those of you deep in the TikTok trenches. He's taken the fight straight to the Christian nationalist agenda in Texas, calling out Republicans for trying to slap the Ten Commandments in every classroom like it's a Chick-fil-A kid's meal toy.
I say this to you as a fellow Christian. Representative Noble, I know you're a devout Christian, and so am I. This bill, to me, is not only unconstitutional, it's not only un-American, I think it is also deeply un-Christian. And I say that because I believe this bill is idolatrous, I believe it is exclusionary, and I believe it is arrogant. And those three things, in my reading of the gospel, are diametrically opposed to the teachings of Jesus. You probably know Matthew 6:5, when Jesus says, "Don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners. When you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret." A religion that has to force people to put up a poster to prove its legitimacy is a dead religion. And it's not one that I want to be a part of. It's not one that I think I am a part of. You know that in Scripture it says faith without works is what? Dead. Is dead. My concern is, instead of bringing a bill that will feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, we're instead mandating that people put up a poster. And we both follow a teacher, a rabbi, who said, don't let the law get in the way of loving your neighbor. Loving your neighbor is the most important law. It is the summation of all the law and all the prophets. I would submit to you that our neighbor also includes the Hindu student who sits in a classroom, the Buddhist student who sits in a classroom, and an atheist student who sits in a classroom. And my question to you is, does this bill truly love those students?
Spoiler alert. Quoting scripture doesn't make your legislation holy. Recently on the Joe Rogan Experience, yes, that podcast, he laid it out raw. The real divide in America isn't red versus blue. It's the ultra-rich versus the rest of us.
I think of politics now less as left versus right and much more as top versus bottom.
Yeah.
Because
You're right.
I just see how we are all pitted against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean literally.
Sure.
These social media platforms, they only get clicks when there's conflict, right? They don't get clicks when we're having a conversation, when we're understanding each other.
Right.
That doesn't get anybody any profit.
Right.
And so the Rupert Murdochs of the world, the cable news networks, the social media platforms, the Zuckerbergs and Musks, these platforms are literally tearing us apart.
You're onto something. I think what you're saying is absolutely true, though, that it's not us versus them. It's the top versus the bottom.
And I don't know if everyone is fully awake to that we're getting played.
I don't think people are, and I think you saying it is very important.
If we recognize that we have far more in common than the stuff that divides us, then that's a threat to their power. It's a threat to their wealth. That unity, that loving your enemy is not just morally good, it's not just idealistic, it is good strategic advice.
That's part of the problem, is that the people that are in power want to stay in power. And the best way to stay in power is to enrich the other people around you that are like you and create laws and create a structure that allows you to maintain ridiculous wealth and suppress competition.
And divide everyone to keep them distracted. This is my personal, like, what happens if we actually loved our enemies, if we rebuilt these relationships? Like, who could we take on if we did it together? Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and progressives.
Talarico didn't just hit the nail on the head, he rebuilt the whole political toolbox. He argued with clarity and calm that billionaires are fueling division to protect their power, while the rest of us are left fighting over crumbs like it's political Black Friday. And in a sharp exchange with Brian Tyler Cohen, Talarico didn't mince words. Donald Trump is a con man. Always has been. Always will be.
I know that the appeal of Donald Trump is that he's not a typical politician. I get that. You know, I do find, even as a Democrat, I find some of the ways that Donald Trump speaks, to be a little refreshing, because he doesn't sound like the typical poll-tested, consultant-driven politician. And so I get why that was appealing. But now that he's in office, you see that, he's cutting taxes for himself and his rich friends. He's kicking his own voters off their health care and off food assistance. And he's not even releasing, the Epstein files that could shed some light on this issue. And so I think that ultimately actions speak louder than words. And I hope that people are realizing that Donald Trump is a con man, always has been, always will be. He says the right things, he pushes the right buttons, but ultimately when it comes down to it, he's going to protect himself and his powerful friends. And I hope that's a realization for folks. But we as Democrats have to provide an alternative.
He pointed out how Trump's real mission was never about draining the swamp, but feeding the yacht club. Tax cuts for the rich, check. Slashing healthcare and food stamps for his own base, double check. It's the kind of hypocrisy that would make even a televangelist blush. My final words? James Talarico isn't just a rising Democrat. He's a walking, talking reset button. He brings youth, clarity, and unapologetic truth-telling to a party desperately in need of all three. He doesn't just challenge the system, he exposes it. And whether it's the Texas House floor or the Joe Rogan studio, he reminds us of the real enemy, billionaire power masquerading as political ideology. And that is the cold truth on Code Blue in America, only on OGM News. I am Sarah. See you next time.
All right, friends, here's the deal. We need your support to level up our game. How can you help? Simple. Like, share, and drop a comment. Shower us with your love, your applause, or even your brutally honest displeasure. We can take it, we promise. Your feedback fuels us, even if it stings a little. And before you dash off, go ahead and smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us everywhere: Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Heck, if you're feeling retro, send us a carrier pigeon or a smoke signal. Stay awesome, stay witty, and we'll see you next time.